Yo, what's going on, guys? I hope you're having a great Labor Day weekend. I've decided to make my first video for YouTube, full length, in which I'm going to discuss all of the things that my channel is going to be about. Mainly, I hope they are of use to you. So, mainly speaking, my thoughts, opinions, situations on the day-to-day lives about what's going on in the modern world, and very meta stuff. So, to begin, I'm with my dogs. This is Howl and Cosmo. Lab mix and a German Shepherd mix. They are both wonderful. What I'm going to speak to you guys about is a lot of things that I believe to be common sense to me, but as you know, as you grow older, common sense is not that common. And a lot of times I see pain in places and in people where knowledge can simply replace it, and they can be much better off. For courage is simply knowledge. If you lack the courage, you need to learn a bit more about it. What you must understand is fear is always rooted in powerlessness. What do I mean by that? The only times you are truly fearful are in situations where power has been taken from you, where you no longer are able to decide what happens, and you're simply watching things unfold. Not the victim mentality, but you know what I mean. Accidents, events in life that lead to trauma and such, in relationships where you feel you do not have a say, and it's not specifically romantic relationships, and it's any relationship that you have with another. I'm going to speak a lot about business, my thoughts on what I've learned so far. Corporate America. Why so many people are trying to avoid a full-time job, because it strips them of their freedom to do what it is they wish. See, a lot of times in life, you believe you've made a decision to go down a certain path, but in actuality, the decision you made is the path of least resistance. What do I mean by that? You have two choices, A and B. And the one that looks scarier is the one you might try to avoid. And so, as a result, you choose the opposite, because you think it might be easier. It might be more fulfilling. So often do people believe they are running out of time, when in actuality, time is the only thing you have. Which, in essence, is true. You are running out of time. But you have plenty of time to worry about that later on in life. So, when it comes to setting deadlines for yourself, you must be here by a certain age. You must have this by a certain age. You must already be by a certain age. It is all false. For you must remember, friends, there is a soul and the ego. And the ego cares not for the soul cares not for materialistic things. The ego does. It is how the ego operates in the physical world. The soul knows not what it wants, but much better, it understands what it does not want. So when people say, how do you know you don't like it when you haven't tried it? Simple. I don't like dying. I don't need to try it for me to know it. I don't like being hurt. I don't need to do it for me to understand it is not good. Nothing will ever hurt you in your life, for you are not your body and you are not your thoughts. Let me elaborate on that. Let's go. Your body is your vessel. And your soul is who you are without any concern for what your body looks like. With that in mind, the world can only hurt your body. It cannot take anything from you that you own. For if it is yours, no one can take it. And if it is not, you are simply borrowing it. We borrow our arms and legs and our mouths and our teeth to operate and navigate here on earth. But more than that, you are your feelings, your emotions. The same consciousness that lives in you is what is powering the life force of all living organisms. And that is a different topic, but the same essence that creates mountains, volcanoes, thunderstorms is the same essence that is in you. You are no different. For remember this and always. God rests in reason and God moves in passion. You see this in acts of God, right? Natural disasters. There is nothing that can keep you safe if you are in the way. The only thing that can help you is preparation. But that defeats the purpose of moving in passion. For it does not wait until you're ready. And that's a big problem. Especially in countries that lack the resources to be safe. When dams burst and volcanoes erupt and there's nowhere to go. When streets are engulfed in flames like Mati in Greece and people try to run to the ocean. And what they described was the fault of illegal construction. Now, because of this act of God, they have decided to rectify it and they are rebuilding. For it is blessing in disguise to prepare for something worse. That could be. Nothing worse might happen. Let's go. God rests in reason and moves in passion. What do I mean by rests? It rests in silence. And it moves with passion. This is as such when you witness fights. When two things go head to head. When you see crashes, when you see terrible things happen, and not always terrible, for rain is always a good thing. It is only terrible in the perspective of the person watching. Remember this also. There are no boundaries, and there are no limits in life. The only boundaries are seen from the eye. For without the eye, everything is everywhere at all times in any place, all the time. But yet you can only see so far. You can only see until the horizon and nothing more. And no animal is exempt from this. I will be talking a lot about spirits, the other side of life, about dualities and how they apply to everything, how rules are meant to be broken, but laws are obeyed by all. And if you can break a rule, it is not law. Remember, in any situation, if a rule can be broken, it is not law. You cannot evade the laws of nature. If you steal something, something will be taken from you. But you work for it through the labor of heart, and you shall be rewarded. For that is the coin of Mother Nature. Labor through the heart. Furthermore, time is a very funny thing to talk about, right? There's all the theories that time is an ocean, that it does not travel in one direction, the possibilities that can be with time. For we observe time differently than animals do. And besides that, they observe time differently than other organisms. Other organisms that you may not fully understand. But that's okay. It is not any of your business to understand everything and how it works. All you must know is that life is always fair. The best way to know something is inside out, back and forth, until you cannot make a mistake if you are trying to replicate it. That is true in the physical world. Although, when it comes to time, it is simply in your mind. Math only exists to us. For math helps us figure out where and when we are. It helps puts us in a point of time and space where we can look left and right, up and down, and navigate. But besides us, it is not required. For life records all progress. What do I mean by that? If it works, it'll last. If it does not, it'll die. And the longer it works, the changes apply, and so that is how it records. I think I heard or read this somewhere, but imagine you throw a ball towards a wall, a brick wall. Think of it as either rubber or a lead ball. It doesn't matter, something of weight. You can throw it at a wall 1,000 times, and then on 1,000th hit, on the last impact, the wall might shatter. You can think that the last impact caused it to shatter, or the accumulation, the sum of all of the hits. For you do not need to count up to 1,000. Life records it for you in the form of progression. Like, see, I do not know how long I've been walking, but he does. It's been too long. Cosmo, let's go. Come on. He needs a break. So with that, it is of no use to pressure yourself when it comes to time, to think that you are running out. For the only thing you are running out of is time, thinking about how much time you are wasting. Very important it is to understand, just because you are not doing a thing or being productive does not mean you are wasting time. A waste of time is doing something without purpose. A waste of time is doing something for someone else. It is not yours. When it comes to business, friends, it is of no use to emotionally invest yourself wherever it is you work, even if it is your own. For one day it might not be, which is okay, because not everything lasts forever, depending on what you think is forever. But all right, let's go. When you put pressure on yourself because you think you're running out of time, you're more than likely to make decisions that set you back, and that is a waste of time. But that's okay, because you got more. But what happens when you're a certain age and you run out of the energy that you once did? We live in a world with so many elders. Of course, everybody has lived their lives. But I constantly meet people who wish they had done something better with their own time. Especially those that have lived for the purpose of someone else's. I'm going to discuss the ideas of pendulums. Now, all the things that I speak of are all the things that I've learned. Whether read, seen, heard, felt, or understood. Similar to all the meals that you have eaten in your life, you cannot recall them all. But you know they've made you who you are. I cannot recall all the books. I do remember my favorites. Regardless, they have made me who I am. And it is not to say that books make you, but you've met people who don't read. You can tell. I once read a story about a guy that got, I think, jailed. I think it was overseas. It was a few years ago. From overdue library fines. Apparently thousands of dollars. And the man was on a search for the answer to life. And in that search, he found it. Which is, there is no answer. It is not written. For similar to rules, if it is written word, it could have been edited or changed. And you simply cannot trust it. Laws are obeyed by all. Rules are written and thusly able to be broken. But when you go and label a rule, a law, and then you force other people to abide by it, what then happens is the soul and the ego are in a constant dance, where the soul must navigate the earth using the rules applied to the ego. This is obvious in governments, right? I believe we now live in a world where, very much understandably, governments are not to be trusted. For you must always remember this: a business is always its own priority before its customers. Always. Their second thing is to make it so that the consumers appear to be priority. For the business has to be its priority, and without consumers, it is not. Such as schools, right? We know that education is more meant to be felt than read on. I have learned that the things I retain the most, the things that I learn the best, are the ones where the more of my senses are involved, the better it stays within my subconscious. If I can feel, taste, hear, and see something happening, I am more likely to never forget it. But if I am simply reading something and none of my emotions or senses are invested, then it disappears. For these things are learned within the body, not through the eyes, for the eyes can be deceiving as anything else can be. When it comes to dualities, there is good and evil, dark and light. And so with that, you cannot ignore your dark thoughts, your dark side, your shadow side. It is only when we try to ignore it and try to medicate and try to rectify and correct ourselves that we become lost in our head games with medicines and such. And that is a very dangerous path. For you now, you are trying to appease the ego at the price of the soul. I will speak more of this, but I wanted to make an introductory video to give you a clue of what is to be. More so, there will be other things happening on my channels. I will try to make things as simple as I can. And the reason for my speaking of this way is because I know how easy it is for others to misconstrue and paraphrase what I've said, or what anybody says. But there is no paraphrasing. There is no slang. There just is. And you can take from this what you will, but ultimately, I do not speak words that are unknown to you. All these words are in your vocabulary. It is the order of which they are put in that makes sense. Similar to an image. You flip an image upside down and then it becomes a total new one. Stay tuned.